Welcome back to the CryptoWorld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is bouncing from critical support as the price just confirmed a new signal in the short term, while this chart is potentially revealing the next price target. So I'll be talking about that in just a moment, alongside Ethereum, which is also flashing the same short-term signal, while Solana is now playing out the same short-term signal. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in this video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just giving you a quick update on the Bitcoin ETF news today, and just on Wednesday, we saw another net outflow of around 165 million US dollars leaving the Bitcoin ETFs. And if we're looking at the breakdown, we can see that BlackRock actually had their worst day yet. We had the smallest ever inflow going into the BlackRock ETF of only around $18 million. And other than that very small inflow into the BlackRock ETF, there were no other inflows into any of the other ETFs on Wednesday. And instead, we saw a couple of small outflows from some of the ETFs and the usual outflow from Grayscale. And so once again, just yesterday, this was one of the reasons as to why we saw that drop to the downside that I talked about in my last video, because once again, if we're seeing net outflows from the ETFs, that is bearish for Bitcoin while it is happening. But we cannot forget about the Bitcoin halving, which is one of the most bullish events in Bitcoin's entire price history and only comes around once every 4 years. And this next Bitcoin halving, the fourth Bitcoin halving in Bitcoin's history, is happening in just over 1 day from now. And if we're looking at the impact of the Bitcoin halving on the Bitcoin chart, this is looking at the monthly time frame. So each one of these candles in the price is an entire month. And so this is looking at well over a decade worth of history, almost 1.5 decades of history. And we can see what usually happens around the Bitcoin halvings. We usually recovering back to the upside after the previous bear market before the halving happens, as we've already seen over the last 1 year or so. And then we usually see a massive Bitcoin bull market explode to the upside in the price of Bitcoin, usually over the next 1 year approximately after the Bitcoin halving takes place. And so it's important to understand that it's not like we're going to see a massive move straight to the upside, straight to 100K on the day of the Bitcoin halving, because considering what the Bitcoin halving actually does is reduce the new inflation coming into the circulating supply of Bitcoin. So it reduces the new Bitcoin that's being mined into circulation. And by doing that, it does not have an immediate effect on the price, but over the longer term, over the coming months, over the coming 1 year or so, it has much more of an effect because it significantly reduces sell pressure. And so simply based on the Bitcoin halving happening in just over 1 day from now, and simply based on Bitcoin's entire price history, we can most likely expect a continued bull market in the price of Bitcoin over the next 1 year approximately as the most likely outcome. And if we're taking a look at the 3-day Bitcoin chart, obviously, even during a bull market, also known as a larger bullish trend, obviously we can see pullbacks from time to time in the short term. That's very normal to see. And just recently, from the all-time high to the lowest point, at least as of right now, from high to low, the price of Bitcoin has pulled back roughly around 19%, which is very normal price action even during a bull market. In fact, during this very bull market that we've been in since the beginning of 2023, we've already seen 4 other pullbacks in the price of Bitcoin, other than the latest pullback, that have actually been larger than the latest pullback, at least as of right now. And if we're taking a look at other bull markets, for example, back in 2017, during that massive bull market going to the upside, we actually saw 30 to 40% pullbacks here and there back to the downside during the larger bull market. And so that's why I always say it's important to understand the difference between the different time frames. Obviously, on a smaller time frame, for example, we might be looking more bearish in the short term while we're in a pullback. But when we're zooming out, looking at the bigger picture, these pullbacks are just normal price action, normal pullbacks that we usually see during a larger bull market. And one of the reasons as to why we've seen a pullback over the last 1 week, give or take, is due to the fact that the DXY has been massively spiking to the upside over the last 1 to 2 weeks or so. And so as I've been warning here on the channel since much higher prices, since nearly $70,000 per Bitcoin, I've been saying how the DXY is spiking to the upside, which means we should be expecting short-term bearish price action. But like I said in my last video, we're actually starting to see a small pullback to the downside again in the DXY. So this is something worth paying attention to, because like I said in my last video, if this continues a pullback further back to the downside, then that's a different story. That means we could potentially start to see more of a recovery in the price of Bitcoin if this pullback in the DXY continues. Because as we can clearly see on this chart right here, usually when the DXY is bearish, that's extremely bullish for Bitcoin and crypto, and vice versa, when the DXY is bullish, that is almost always bearish or at least neutral for the price of Bitcoin. And so ideally, in order to start flipping much more bullish again on Bitcoin in the short term here, we ideally need to see that pullback continue back to the downside here in the DXY to be more confident that we're actually flipping more bullish in the short term. But if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, we can clearly see that as of right now, the price of Bitcoin is bouncing perfectly from this area of support, which is an area of support I've been talking about over and over again here on the channel, sitting in between around 61 to 62,000. And of course, the latest daily candle close confirmed right in that area of support, right in between 61 to 62K. So we never actually confirmed a break below that support. And so really, this is just the same thing that I've been talking about over and over again here on the channel. If we confirm a break below this area of support, or ideally below $60,000 with confirmation, so candle closes below 61 to 60,000, then in that case, we could likely see a continued move down towards this technical price target to the downside, which is sitting at around 55,000. But it's important to understand that between the current price and that bearish price target, there is this critical area of support where we can still bounce at, as we've just seen here. And in order to actually invalidate the bearish price target to the downside altogether, we need to see a confirmed breakout back above around 67 to 68,000 in order to invalidate this entire pullback and really begin that recovery back up towards the all-time highs. But at least for now, just in the imminent short term, looking at the 4-hour time frame, we have now confirmed the bullish divergence in the short term, which is also something that I've been talking about here on the channel. Because as I said in my last video, we've already confirmed lower lows in place in the price action in the candle closes, and we were forming higher lows in the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI. And since my last video, we have now confirmed the higher low in place with a few green candle closes here in the price. And so the moment we saw just a couple of green candle closes confirming in the Bitcoin price, that confirmed the higher low in place in the RSI, confirming the bullish divergence. And as I said in my last video, the bullish divergence usually plays out in the form of either neutral price action or a bullish relief in the short term, basically a relief or a break from all of the bearish price action. And so once again, this is now playing out on the Bitcoin chart in the short term and is likely going to play out over the next couple of days or so, because usually something on the 4-hour time frame plays out over at least a few days. And as for resistance that we need to pay attention to as we continue this bounce to the upside, we need to pay attention to this area sitting in between around 65 to 66,000, and above that we have more resistance in between around 68 to 69,000, where the price could potentially struggle at. And above those areas, we also have a significant level of resistance right here at around 71,500, and above that, more resistance in between around 73 to 74,000, which is basically that all-time high level. And so once again, the situation right now based on the Bitcoin charts and these signals and patterns playing out is that right now in the short term, we are currently seeing a relief, basically a break from all of that pullback, all of that bearish price action. And that relief is likely going to continue over the next 1 to 2 days or so at least. But this by itself does not necessarily fully confirm that the bottom is exactly in. Once again, it could be in, but it doesn't necessarily confirm that it's definitely in. And so in order to become much more confident that we're actually really flipping more bullish again in the short term, we need to see some other signals confirm, like for example, a breakout back above this line right here. Or even better, if we see a further reversal in the DXY, then we can become more confident that Bitcoin is actually flipping much more bullish again in the short term. And if you want to trade these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, personally, I take trades just like that over on Bybit. So I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit in the description down below and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account and deposit on that account, you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. And also, if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can claim an exclusive 200 USDT airdrop position. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitflex. And so I'll also leave a link to Bitflex down below this video as an alternative crypto exchange. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we can see a massive area of liquidity sitting just above the current price at the time of recording this video. And this area of liquidity is sitting in between around 64.6k to 65k. And in case you're new to all of this, usually the price of Bitcoin trends towards where there's most liquidity. And so due to the fact that there's a lot of liquidity in that range right there, just underneath 65,000, it is quite likely that that is dragging the price closer towards that area. And we could hit that area sometime very soon. And basically, if we start crossing above 65,000, breaking above these previous highs right here and liquidating a lot of short positions in that area, then it's possible that could actually trigger a small short squeeze, which would be bullish for the price. If we're liquidating short positions, that means short positions are exiting the market, which means they're basically having to buy back into Bitcoin to close those positions. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin funding rates, right now the funding rates are still below neutral. A lot of the funding rates across a lot of different exchanges are still sitting in negative territories. And as I've already been saying over the last few days, these negative funding rates are actually good news for the price eventually, because this can ultimately lead to a short squeeze once we see a bounce back to the upside in the price. Because negative funding rates are caused by an imbalance between the longs and the shorts. Basically, there's a lot of people right now trying to short the market and not a lot of people trying to long the market. And so due to that, that's causing negative funding rates, which actually means short positions are having to pay extra fees to the long positions. And so basically, as funding rates go further into the negative territory, it means it becomes more and more expensive to hold and maintain a short position. And at the same time, it becomes much more of a benefit to hold a long position, because you're basically earning fees when the funding rates are negative if you're holding a long position. And once again, if you're opening a new long position or closing a short position, both of those cases is adding buying pressure to Bitcoin. Opening a long position means buying Bitcoin basically, and closing a short position also means buying Bitcoin. And so that's why negative funding rates can ultimately lead to a short squeeze, especially if we take out that liquidity sitting at around 65,000 or just underneath 65,000. But anyway, taking a look at Ethereum on the weekly time frame, right now we're bouncing exactly from that level of support, which is sitting at around 2.9k. And obviously 2.9k is a level of support I've been talking about over and over again here on the channel since the moment we broke below 3.4k. I said it's extremely likely we're going to drop to 2.9k and find support right there. And I would only expect another significant drop to the downside down towards around 2,500 if we confirm a break below 2.9k, which as of right now has not yet happened. And as for resistance on the weekly time frame, we should now find some resistance again in the golden pocket in between 3.4 to 3.5k and more resistance closer towards 4.1k. But just like Bitcoin, of course, the price of ETH is still within a larger bullish trend, forming significant higher lows and higher highs in the price, despite the short-term pullbacks that we see along the way. And if we're zooming into the short term, looking at the 8-hour time frame, right now the price of ETH is playing out that bullish divergence that I've mentioned over the last couple of days, because obviously the price has been forming lower lows in the candle closes, while the RSI has been forming higher lows here in the 8-hour Ethereum RSI. And since my last video, this has now been confirmed with the higher low put in place in the RSI, with a bounce confirming the higher low in place in the RSI. And so what this now means for the price is that we're most likely going to see either a sideways consolidation or a slight bullish relief as the most likely scenarios over the next few days. And it also helped that the price did indeed bounce again from this area of support, sitting in between around 2850 to 2950. And as for short-term resistance, we should pay attention to this area sitting in between around 3.2k to 3250, and above that more resistance in between around 3470 to 3530, and significant resistance at around 3650. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana on the 8-hour time frame, it's an extremely similar situation for Solana as I just said for Ethereum. Basically, we have just confirmed a new bullish divergence for Solana on the 8-hour time frame, with lower lows confirmed in the candle closes and higher lows confirmed here in the 8-hour Solana RSI. And so, like I just said, this means we're most likely going to play out either choppy sideways price action, basically a sideways consolidation, or a slight bullish relief as the most likely outcomes over the next few days. And as for support and resistance, obviously we have just seen another perfect bounce from this area of support that I've mentioned recently here on the channel. Once again, this area of support sitting in between around 120 to 127. And as for short-term resistance to pay attention to, we have resistance in between around 150 to 155 and more resistance up towards around 167 to 172. And if you want to trade these moves in the price of any crypto, once again, check out those links down below this video if you want to claim those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions. And the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next video.